Tanshe, boys and girls, and fellow lifelong learners. My name is Keith Diakiw, and I'm a proud Métis Canadian who's from the Duck Lake St. Laurent Batoche region of central Saskatchewan. And on my mother's side, I'm related to Gabriel Dumont, so I'm very proud of the fact that I'm related to an historic figure of early Canadian history. And today I'm here with my good friend Josh Morin, who's also going to share some of his historic Métis ancestry.
So Tanshe Kiwa, Josh Morin de Shinakashun, Nimichif Nia, and Mio Nashkatuk. Hello everyone, my name is Joshua Morin. I am Métis Michif, and welcome. We are here today at the historic Métis community of St. Albert, and we're filming at the Michif Cultural Connection Center in St. Albert here, which was founded from my grandma Thelma Shalafu, and she was the first Indigenous woman appointed to the Canadian Senate. So I'm very grateful Keith has me here to just simply share on the Métis culture and history today.
And so our learnings today is essentially the three pillars of the Métis culture. We're going to start with the Sash, followed by the Red River Cart, and then we're going to end with the Métis Nation flag.
So right here we have a traditionally finger-woven sash. This sash here was worn from my great-great-grandfather Severe Villeneuve, and you can see because it's finger-woven, this is, for one, it's very durable still for being in the 1800s sash, but he had this very unique pattern in it, a thunderbolt pattern and then also an arrowhead pattern. And with sashes you commonly see this palette of colors that spread across the sash, and Keith here, he has a couple of loom woven sashes here, and he's going to explain a bit on the roles and the colors of them.
And so when you think of Josh's third great-grandfather sash, right, with the thunderbolts and the arrowhead motif, very durable, the height of the fur trade in the early 1900s, to the more modern ones now. One represents the province of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, and these are all loom made. And you can kind of see there's different colorations, essentially very multicultural in the colors. And in particular, when you think of the Manitoba sash, you see the darker colors compared to the other two. And the black is representing the dark times, because when you think Louis Riel fighting for the founding of the province of Manitoba for the Métis of the Red River settlement, black represents that reign of terror that was going on between 1869 and 1870, where he literally had to flee for his life off to Montana. Well, that fight for the Métis rights never stopped there. It continued on west to what we know as the province of Saskatchewan, with the Battle of Duck Lake, the Battle of Batoche, Battle of Fish Creek, and you can see with Saskatchewan, Alberta, red predominates these sashes, and that represents the bloodshed of the continuous fight for Métis rights. And then on the prosperity side of things, you can see with all four sashes, white is represented. So white being connected to the earth, connected to God the Creator, resilience, not giving up. You can see that all the way through all these different eras and different sashes. And then more recently with Alberta and Saskatchewan, you can see the yellow, right? Yellow, the sun to gold, prosperity. So things are looking up for the Métis Nation through the yellow that's represented in the more modern sashes. And now for our second learning, another pillar of Métis culture is the Red River Cart. Essentially the SUV of the Great Plains, is when you see a very unique type of wagon, all made of various different pieces of wood, no nails. So when you're transiting families and freight all throughout the prairies and the woodlands, if you ever needed a repair, it was easy to fix, because you didn't need a blacksmith to make you a nail. And again, when you think eventually you're going to reach a water body, such as like a river like the North Saskatchewan, and you can't just cross it like this, so you take the wheels off, and because it's made of wood, it would float, and now it becomes from a wagon to a raft to safely transport people and goods across. And now Josh is going to highlight the other 6 months of the year how versatile this SUV of the Great Plains was.
So Canada is generally known for short summers but really long winters. So you're probably kind of wondering, did they use these still in winter? And it's like, well, of course they still use it in winter. When they developed this vehicle, they thought of all aspects of the weather. So much like when you're crossing a river, you would take the wheels off, right? So you're not putting on winter tires, funny enough, right? You're taking these wheels off and it's gonna plop onto the snow, and then you'll tie the back of it to a horse or an ox, and then it will sail or sled rather, smoothly across the snow, and they could actually navigate through the reflection of the moonlight off the snowbed. It would brighten the area enough that they could safely navigate. So this Red River cart and the Sash, they both complemented each other as being multi-tools.
And then for another pillar of the Métis culture is the Métis flag. And as you see with the white infinity symbol, the joining of two nations to create one, this flag was actually flown into battle in 1816 by Cuthbert Grant for the Battle of Seven Oaks, a fight for the Métis rights, also known as the Pemmican Wars, because Hudson's Bay was still trying to maintain its monopoly status on every aspect of the fur trade. So of course, if you control the pemmican, you pretty much control every aspect of the fur trade, being the food stuff of that era, because it's very labor intensive type of work. So kudos to Cuthbert Grant for winning that battle, for opening up kind of the free enterprise, the market economy of the fur trade. And I'm very proud to call this like Canada's first national flag, and being proud of being a citizen of the Métis Nation.
Yeah, so another cool thing about this flag is, not only is it the national flag that represents Métis people across the homeland, but we view this flag the exact same way as how Cuthbert Grant viewed it back in 1816. Two nations coming together to form a new nation that goes on forever and ever. And now we fast forward to 2020, and we're still sharing about Cuthbert Grant's story and how he views the Métis, because it's still very much that relevant.
So merci, Josh, for sharing your knowledge of the Métis culture and your ancestry.
Yeah, merci, Keith, and Kwat Matin Mina, that means see you again. And thanks for everyone who watched this video.
Merci, everyone. Take care of yourselves.